The rain hammered against the tinted windows of the Mercedes, S-Class like 1,000 desperate fingers seeking entry. Alexander Chen sat motionless in the back seat, his tailored Tom Ford suit perfectly pressed, his Patek Philippe watch glinting in the dim light, yet none of it mattered anymore. The funeral had ended 3 hours ago, but he couldn't bring himself to return to that empty penthouse. His father's voice still echoed in his mind. "You've built an empire, son, but you're living like a ghost." Those had been his last words, delivered from a hospital bed 2 weeks before the heart attack that took him. Alexander had laughed it off then, buried himself deeper in quarterly reports and acquisition deals. Now, at 38 years old, sitting alone in a car that cost more than most people's homes, he finally understood what his father meant. He had everything money could buy and absolutely nothing that mattered. A small knock on the window startled him from his thoughts. Through the rain-streaked glass, he saw a tiny hand no bigger than a sparrow, tapping persistently. Alexander pressed the button, and the window descended slowly, revealing a little girl who couldn't have been more than 7 years old. Her clothes were soaked through, her dark hair plastered to her face, but her eyes, those impossibly bright hazel eyes, held no trace of fear or desperation. Instead, they sparkled with something that looked remarkably like hope. "Mister," she said, her voice barely audible above the storm, "you need a wife and I need a dad. Maybe we can help each other?" Alexander stared at her, utterly speechless. In 20 years of negotiating billion-dollar deals, he'd never been rendered wordless. Yet here was this child, offering the strangest proposal he'd ever heard, with the matter-of-fact tone of someone discussing the weather. "What?" he finally managed. The girl smiled, revealing a missing front tooth. "You look really sad." "My mom says people look like that when they're lonely. I'm lonely too. My mom works 3 jobs and I hardly ever see her. She cries a lot because she says she can't give me the life I deserve." She paused, considering her next words carefully. "You look like you have a good life on the outside. But inside," she tapped her small chest. "Inside, you're sad like my mom." Something in Alexander's chest cracked open. He should have told his driver to move along, should have handed the child some money and sent her away. Instead, he heard himself say, "Get in. You're soaking wet." The girl climbed in without hesitation, leaving puddles on the leather seats that cost more than most people earned in a month. Alexander grabbed his jacket from beside him and draped it over her shoulders. It swallowed her completely, making her look even smaller. "What's your name?" he asked. "Emma Rodriguez. I'm 7 3/4. "What's yours?" "Alexander." "Alexander Chen." Emma's eyes widened. "Wait, the Alexander Chen? From Chen Industries? My mom cleans offices in one of your buildings. The big one downtown with the golden sea on top." Alexander felt another crack form in the wall he'd built around himself. "Your mother works for me?" "Not for you exactly. For the cleaning company. But yeah, your building." Emma wrinkled her nose. "She comes home really late and her back always hurts. But she says it's worth it because she's building a better future for me." The girl's voice wavered slightly. "I just wish our future could include more time together." "Where is your mother now?" Alexander asked, suddenly concerned about why a 7-year-old was alone on the streets in a storm. "She's working a double shift. I was supposed to be at Mrs. Patterson's apartment. She watches me sometimes, but she had to go to the hospital for her diabetes. I didn't want Mom to worry and maybe lose her job by leaving work. So I told Mrs. Patterson I'd be fine. I was walking home when the rain got really bad, and then I saw you. You looked like you needed someone to talk to even more than I did." Alexander found himself smiling for the first time in weeks. "So you knocked on a stranger's car window in the middle of a storm?" Emma shrugged, the oversized jacket shifting around her. "My mom says sometimes you have to take chances on people. She says everyone's fighting battles we can't see, and a little kindness can change everything." She looked directly at Alexander. "What battle are you fighting, Mr. Chen?" The question, asked with such innocent directness, demolished the last of his defenses. "I'm fighting the battle of realizing I've spent 20 years building a fortune but forgot to build a life. My father just died. He tried to tell me, but I didn't listen until it was too late." Emma nodded solemnly. "That's really sad. My dad left when I was a baby. Mom says he had his own battles and couldn't stay to fight them with us. She's not angry at him, just sad sometimes." She reached out and patted Alexander's hand with her small one. But you know what? It's not too late. You're still here. You can still build that life. How? Alexander asked, and he genuinely wanted to know. How do you start building a life when you've forgotten how? Well, Emma said thoughtfully, maybe you start by helping someone else build theirs. That's what my mom always does. Even when she's tired and sad, she helps other people, and it makes her feel better. Not all the way better, but enough to keep going. Alexander looked at this remarkable child, this tiny philosopher in soaking wet clothes, and made a decision that would change everything. Emma, what if I told you I could help your mother? Give her a better job, better hours, so she could spend more time with you? Emma's face lit up like sunrise breaking through storm clouds. Really, you'd do that? On one condition, Alexander said. You have to let me be part of your life. Both of you. I don't know how to build a life, but maybe you and your mother could teach me. Emma threw her arms around him, dampness and all. Deal, but we should probably call my mom now. She's going to freak out when she gets home and I'm not there. What happened next unfolded like a miracle neither Alexander nor Emma could have scripted. When Maria Rodriguez received a call from her daughter, she'd been terrified until she heard Emma's cheerful voice and the calm explanation from Alexander Chen himself. Within an hour, Maria arrived at Alexander's penthouse, tears streaming down her face as she hugged her daughter close. The conversation that followed lasted until dawn. Alexander learned about Maria's dreams of becoming a nurse, abandoned when Emma's father left and survival became the only priority. He learned about Emma's brilliance in school, her love of books, and how she'd taught herself to read before kindergarten. Most importantly, he learned what family really meant, not blood, but choice. The choice to show up, to care, to fight battles together. Alexander didn't just give Maria a better job. He created a new position in his company, heading up a program to help working parents achieve education and career goals. Maria would coordinate it while completing her nursing degree, fully funded by Chen Industries. He set up a college fund for Emma and countless other children of his employees. But the real transformation happened in Alexander's heart. He started leaving the office at reasonable hours to have dinner with Maria and Emma. He attended Emma's school, plays, and helped with homework. He learned to bake cookies, badly, and to laugh at his own mistakes. He found himself looking forward to weekends, not dreading them. 6 months later, as Alexander stood in the audience watching Emma receive a reading award, he felt his father's presence like a warm hand on his shoulder. He'd finally understood the lesson. Success wasn't measured in quarterly earnings or stock prices. It was measured in the smile of a 7-year-old girl who'd once knocked on his car window in a storm. It was measured in the tears of gratitude in a mother's eyes. It was measured in the fullness of his own heart, once so empty, now overflowing. Emma had been right that rainy night. He'd needed a family, and she'd needed a father figure. They'd helped each other build something neither could have built alone. A life worth living, filled not with things but with love.